we are now in that stage of getting ready for Succos. So there's these days between Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur and Succos, and really what's going on is we're changing mode. You're changing mode from somber and solemn to revealed happiness. That doesn't mean Rosh Hashanah and Kippur are not happy, they are, but it's a different type of happiness. There's Gilu Bir Odo, rejoice with trembling. That's Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And now we move on to Succos. Now, what we want to do is take these external experiences that we're going through, and instead of just going through the motions, we want, I guess, the motions to go through us. And we want to be able to experience this, because what's going on is experiential and extremely powerful. And when we align ourselves with the work that we're doing, and when we actually do the work, right, that our souls feel the work, then the results are transformational. It's entirely possible that we'll go through a whole Tishrei and walk right out of it into the same space we were before. And that will be tragic. What we want to do is capture the moment and seize it. And so, really, there's a day of Tishrei called the day of capturing. The day where you make sure that whatever you got stays with you. And that day is actually the greatest day of Tishrei. It's the day of Shmini Atzeres. Shmini Atzeres means Atzeres Tielochem. Atzeres is Knishu, to gather together, that everything you have should be put together, right? Should be brought together. You can't help but notice the absolute irony that the biggest attack, surprise attack that ever took place on us was first on Yom Kippur. And then they decided to try another day, which happened to be the same English date, almost. October 6th, they got to October 7th. They were trying the same day on the English calendar. Little did they realize that day was Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah. By us, it was Shmini Atzeres only. By them, it's sold Shmini Atzeres and Simchas Torah in one day. And that day is actually the most powerful day, where the Yiddish neshama is revealed in all its fullest glory. And so when you attack a Jew that way, he's going to fight you back with all his Judaism, and you stand absolutely no chance of winning against the Yiddish neshama. So in order to get to that space of being able to internalize the message of Tishrei, we have to be very clear. What is the message of Tishrei? What have we been trying to achieve? How do we get there? And what is considered success in this Havaya? So nowadays, if I tell you Succos, you think about a sukkah, you think about Lulav and Esrog, you think about davening and some dancing, but you know that we're really not really doing Succos the way it's supposed to be. This is just mimicking what Succos actually is. What Succos is, at its core, is all Jews gathering together in the Beis HaMikdash, and then we do a special ceremony where we draw the water, and that's called the Simchas Beis HaShieva. We dance around something going on, drawing of the water, and we schlep the water and bring it all the way up, and it's left overnight, and then in the morning you offer korbanos with it. And there were many, many, many bulls and sheep and goats and everything that are offered, which is what we say in davening. On Succos, you offer 70 bulls. 13 on the first day, 12 on the second day, 11, and so on, until you get to the number 70 total after 7 days. And then you do one bull on the 8th day, Par Echad, because the 70 represent the 70 nations, right? And the 70 nations all go down, down, down. And Hashem says, don't worry about all the 70 nations. Daigenisht, just stick with me. You'll see. It'll all be fine. You have nothing what to fear, any of the nations. It's interesting how the United Nations gather together always around Tishrei time, around Sukkot time. It's also interesting how they always gather together against us, essentially. They just pretend to have other things going on also. It shouldn't look so obvious, but it is all about us. And it's also interesting how scary it is that we are ganged upon, literally, by 70 wolves. But that's why we have the 70 of the work of Succos. And our goal is to reach that point of Shmini Atzeres Par Echad Ayil Echad, where Hashem says, just you and I together. And there were many goats and sheep to him, and there are often a lot going on in the Mizbeach. All that we don't have today. We just pretend. We have a Neshalma poems for saying that we daven, but it's not the same. So one day, God willing, the Beis HaMikdash will be rebuilt speedily nowadays, and then we'll have all that stuff together, and we'll do it. But what about now? In essence, we do have all that now, and what we want to do is understand what the work of offering these bulls is, the work, and what is the work of lighting a fire on the Mizbeach and bringing the fire over to Hashem. How do we get to understand the work? Very simple. The rabbis, the sages instituted, we should have davening in lieu of the sacrifices, the korbanos. They didn't just institute davening randomly, but rather davening is korbanos. It's the same thing as korbanos. So if you pay attention to how you offer an animal on the altar, that's the same thing as how davening operates. So what we want to do is understand the basics, get the facts together. What does it mean to offer an animal on the Mizbeach? What is the implication of this? What does it mean? And once we appreciate and understand what it means, then we deduce from that and take a look at, oh, so this is what it means to offer korbanos on the Mizbeach. Got it. Okay, so we're shechting, offering animals. Yes, got it. And then a fire comes down, you light a fire, and then a fire comes down from Hashem. Once you appreciate all that, now we're going to go take that back and extrapolate from that and learn, okay, this is how you do Succos. And Succos comes after Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And then we get to do the work of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur and the work of Succos. So first we're going to understand what is the work of offering korbanos to Hashem. It's called davening. I think that when we set ourselves correctly to understand what it is that we're doing in our davening, davening becomes a lot more meaningful. And to understand it is exactly by following what davening replaced. Davening replaced korbanos. So in the Beis HaMikdash, there were two mizbaches, two altars, the external and the internal. They are called Mizbeach HaChitzayin and Mizbeach HaPnimi. The Mizbeach HaPnimi was inside, right by the Kodesh, right? It stood next to the Shulchan and the Menorah. It's closer to, all the way inside. You only use it for Ketores, which is a fire that would light an incense. But the outside one, in the Azara, that's called the Mizbeach HaChitzon. That's the big Mizbeach, the external one. There you offered all the animals that you offered, everything that was on the Mizbeach HaChitzon. And most of the work takes place on there. In your life, you will encounter an external altar and an internal altar. Now pay attention to it, because it's a little more challenging than seeing it in the physical world. The physical world, the Beis HaMikdash, it's easy. Inside there's a Mizbeach, outside there's a Mizbeach. What distinguishes inside from outside? Space. Not quite. It's a little more esoteric and holy than that. But take a look in your soul and you'll see. How do you daven? Ule'avdoi be'chol levavchem, which we translate as to serve Hashem with all your heart. Actually, it means to serve Hashem in all your heart. The place where the service takes place is in the heart, which means it's not that I have to serve Hashem and I have to do so by feeling feelings in my heart of love and awe. No, it's that the feelings of love and awe that I generate in my heart, that is how you serve Hashem. The service of Hashem takes place by transforming the heart. Got it? The heart has two parts to it. Chitzonius and Panemius. External and the internal of the heart. External heart means when you intellectualize something and you think about it and your mind reaches a conclusion, so then you're like, okay, this makes sense. Therefore, I experience a feeling accordingly. So if I'm talking about how it makes sense to love, that generates a feeling of love. And then you love. And if I talk about a feeling of awe, then I generate a feeling of awe. So what am I actually doing? I'm getting myself to love Hashem. Right? So there's two ways to love Hashem. But I want to pause. Go back a second. We have a problem. We have a real problem. I think the problem is many people today have feelings of detachment, lack of connection. I think many of us feel abandoned, worthless, lonely, those kind of feelings. And I don't know why it's happening today. It stems from many reasons. Probably one reason is because we see everyone, we know what's happening to everyone everywhere. And so we see all the good. And whilst we are well aware that there's also difficult things happening to everyone in their lives, but the difficulties are not the focus. Because, right, we don't focus on that, so we focus only on, oh, look how great things are by this one, and that one, and that one, and I wish I had that, and I don't, and therefore, you know. And it's running in the air. And that's why we struggle, right? So what you want to do, essentially, is one thing. Fill up your batteries. Fill your heart up with light, with an excitement and a connection to Hashem. It's interesting that the davening of Yom Kippur begins, Or zaru al tzaddik u'leishrei leiv simcha. Before Kol Nidre, we say that pasuk. There is a light that is embedded in a tzaddik. Who's a tzaddik? V'amei kulam tzaddikim, all Jews. And there's the light there. You can shine. Which light? That's the light that was created on the first day of creation. Vayomer Elokim yehi or vayhi or. It wasn't a physical light, a daylight, because daylight came on day 4. So it was a spiritual light. And then Hashem took that light and he hid it. It's called oragons. And ever since then, we've been chasing the light. We want to feel connected, but we don't. It's hard. It's really hard, and we don't feel the light. Right? The avodah, the work is to discover and to find the light. Not easy. But you know what happens to you if you discover the light? Joy. You feel internally plugged in and connected. Your life becomes a different experience. And here's the thing. You don't need to go anywhere outside to discover the light. Where's the light? Where you are. Within you. So it's not about doing something. It's actually about internal transformation, which will lead to results on the outside. If you change on the inside, the outside will reflect your change. The work is with yourself on the inside. We're trained to think differently. Our natural training is to think that if I have a problem, I need to solve it, and then I'll be okay. And it's not true. Because after you solve that problem, there'll be another one. Guaranteed. You're not solving it, it's always going to be an issue. So the question is, how do you learn to feel connected where you are? And when you learn to feel connected, the outside world will reflect. That doesn't mean that you don't have to solve the problems on the outside. You still do. But it's a lot easier to solve problems on the outside when you're feeling good than when you're feeling down. So our goal is essentially to feel good. The only way to feel good is not by artificially manufacturing feeling good. It's real. When you allow Hashem into your life, you allow good feelings and good experiences into you. That's what Tishrei is about. Tishrei is this month. It's more than a month if you add El. And it's designed for us to experience that sense of oneness and closeness with Hashem. That's the goal. We want to feel connected to Hashem. That's what I want to get to. So how do I get there? In order to get there, there's work. The work is Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. That's one type of work. You finish that, the next part of the work is Succos. And in between them, there's the 4 days between Yom Kippur and Succos. And then there's capturing it on Shmini Atzeres. In order to understand now what all that is, we have to go back and say, but what does it mean in the first place to offer korbanos to Hashem, because that's what we're doing so much of in Sukkot? And what does it mean, Nisuch HaMayim, to pour the water libations? So that's what we're holding now. We're trying to understand what that is. So going back to our discussion, there's a Chitzayni Salev and a Pnimi Salev. Now pay attention, because the goal on really the whole Elul Tishrei is Et Panecha Hashem Avakesh. I'm looking for your panim, not your face, not only your face. I'm looking to be on the inside with you, Hashem. I'm looking to feel connected and attached and united and one with you all the time. Help me, Hashem, to feel connected and bound to you and never separate from you. That's my goal. Es ponecha Hashem avakesh. Al taster panecha mimeni. Wherever I go, all I want to do is not feel abandoned and not feel alone. I want to feel Hashem with me. Notice in your heart how you have a pnimi salev and a chitzayni salev. Really what you want to do is Lecha amar libi bakshu fanai. I want to get to my pnimiyut to be able to see Hashem's pnimiyut, to my inside. So I want to get to my internal mizbeach. But you can't get to the internal one without getting to the external one. So what is the external mizbeach? The external mizbeach, again, the mizbeach, the altar, is your heart. Your heart has many different feelings in it. And the beauty is, changing the way the heart operates, changing the feelings in the heart, is called offering korbanos. It's not that you got to change your feelings, that you can do the work. And you have to go to a therapist to change your feelings. Nope. Changing your feelings is the work. When you change your feelings, that's not just therapeutic, that's also godly. That's what Hashem is looking for. So here's what happens. Animals enter into your heart. Ever see the animals? There's many different types of animals. Every feeling has another name. It's another animal. You have a sheep, which is down. You have a bull, goring. You want to kill. There's many different types of feelings that enter into your being. And what you want to do is offer all those animals on the korban to Hashem. So how do you do so? Look, when you daven, you're thinking about Hashem. You're meditating on Hashem. You're saying, Hashem, I see you in my life all the time, everywhere. Thank you, Hashem. It's so good to be with you. That's what you're doing. You're finding Hashem in every little thing you do. That's what davening is. What happens to a person who wakes up in the morning and decides right away to go engage the physical world? Eat breakfast before davening, or go work before davening. Do you know what happens? Inside your head, you have a little mechanism. It's a brain. And that brain, when you wake up in the morning, goes into overdrive after 1 second of waking up. He goes, well, straight away starts to think. And then you tell him, hold on, I gotta meditate, I gotta connect. And he says, you crazy, there's so much to be done, what do you mean, what's gonna happen? And he's trying to pull you away from tranquility. If you add a phone to the picture, it's on steroids. What can I look at, what can I see? And your mind goes all directions. You want tranquility. The only way to access tranquility is by davening first. Asur le'echol kodem atfilah. How do you translate asur le'echol kodem atfilah? It's forbidden to eat before davening? Ooh, that sounds like very judgy. You're not allowed, it's forbidden? No, asur means tied down. If you eat before davening, you're going to be tied down. Because take a look what's going to happen, right? You put, in al-chet we say, al-chet shachatanu lefnecha b'machal v'mishteh. One of the alchetz is, I wronged with food and drink. It's very easy to wrong with food and drink. Just put some food in front of you and watch what happens. The food beckons you, luring towards you. It's hard. It's hard to engage food. And what you want to do is take the food and be able to control him, not him control you. There's only one way to do that. And that is if you're connected upstairs. If you're tied to Hashem and you have that relationship and bond with Hashem, then you have the power. But asur le'echol kodem tefillah means it is forbidden. It is tied down if you eat before davening. The food's going to bring you down. So you want to first bind yourself to Hashem. When you wake up in the morning, you have worries and things that are and anxieties. So what you do is you owe it to yourself to meditate and to think and to realize how Hashem is in control. Hashem is in control. You know, I can't help but think about it because, you know, can't help but follow what's going on in Israel. And it's really, it boggles the mind. How, hello, you murdered us. We're doing genocide. What? Like a little bit of normalcy. We're just protecting ourselves. And if we don't protect ourselves, they're going to do genocide again. They're trying. We see that. So, but the world's like, no, you shouldn't do it. You can't do it. And what you want to do, it's very scary. It's really scary. What's scariest about it is that the good countries are like, no, don't attack them. Chas v'shalom, you know, never. I mean, how can you attack there or whatever? If we would just do the job, we know how to do the job. It's very simple how to do the job. We have the power, we have the might, we have the brains, everything we have. We just lack one thing, conviction. So, and that's because of the world. So if we would listen to them, we would not be doing anything. That's why we're in the position that we're in now, this horrible, terrible position. There's so many people dying every day. Hashem Yishmor. It's all because we weren't strong. And we're finding it very hard to be strong now. If you're not strong, you're going to be savagely, brutally eaten up alive. It's always interesting that the first Rashi in the Chumash, the first Rashi, which we've discussed numerous times, what does he say? He says, it's the opening of the whole Chumash in Rashi. That's what he says. You know why the Torah starts in the beginning when Hashem created heaven and earth? Because the nations will tell you that you are thieves. You stole the land. And you're like, seriously? We're also allowed a country. No, you're not. The nations will keep on blaming you for stealing their land. And what do you tell the nations? The nations, by the way, they're following on cue with their part. They're doing exactly what Rashi says they're supposed to do. They're saying, you are thieves, you stole the land. And we're saying, what? You murdered us, you whatever. We're not following Rashi's response. That's why there's a problem. Follows Rashi's response. Watch how the problem will go away. To some degree, we express the energy, but not fully. What does Rashi say to do? You look them in the eye and you tell them, God gave us the land. And this is our land because Hashem gave it to us. I don't need it to be fair. I don't care. I'm not talking about savagery and blaming and massacring because I know you love doing that actually. All I'm going to talk about is it's our land because Hashem gave it to us. Finished. And for some reason, we Jews, have you ever heard anyone in Israel say that, like as is? No. But if the Prime Minister would say that, that it's our land because Hashem gave it to us, no. He has never said that. Thank God he actually started to talk strong lately. And he also mentions Hashem's name, which is pretty interesting. You know, Israelis, what? Hey, you said Be'ezrat Hashem? What? Hashem? Mashiach.
I was watching the Israeli news last night on TV, and the newscasters around the table were all saying Baruch Hashem.
Yeah, it's big stuff.
What?
They talk about Hashem. One more step you need. You need to be able to look the nations in the face and say, Hashem gave us the land, that's why it's ours. Now they're going to look back and say, oh, Hashem, you're being whatever. Watch what will happen. As soon as you'll say that, they'll realize that you are God's people. Now, I don't care if they believe it or not. They'll still fight you. But they'll realize that you believe it, and that's the key. Because if you believe it, then you have a right to exist. If you're just there because what? Because there was a partition plan and whatever, who cares? What does that mean, anything? We're getting there. We're getting closer. And as soon as we do, you watch the power. In other words, what needs to happen in order to overcome all the external forces is something very simple. Get strong. Because here's the story. They're too strong for us otherwise. We don't stand a fighting chance. There's no way we can win. And if you think it's hasbara, PR, if we just do the PR properly, then we'll win. No, you won't. Because A, you don't have the numbers, nor the money. You don't have it. You think you have the brains? They have more brains even than the Jews. What you have on your side is very simple. Hashem. Say it. Say it, recognize it, bring it out, and you watch how everything will change. Until you don't attach yourself to Hashem, you can't do that. Every single one of us in our private lives experiences that. And so the first order of the day is to daven. Davening means noticing that Hashem is controlling everything and getting excited over it. Because here's the story. In the Mizbeach, the way it worked is, a fire would come down from above and devour the korban. But in order for a fire to come down from above and devour the korban, it required you to go first. Before the fire comes down, you have to light the fire. And this is the key with how Hashem operates. Hashem says, you want me to give you everything? You want me to give you a fire of Hashem, excitement from above? I'll give it to you. I'll light the fire. I'll do it. One condition. You go first. You light the fire first. That means you need to be excited and passionate over Hashem, and then Hashem comes right through. So interesting how, if you follow in marriage, it's amazing to see how things operate. They, if a wife nudges her husband, he's like, oh man, he doesn't know what to do with himself. But if she just flips mode, and instead of nudging him, just tells him what she likes, without asking for it. Tells him what she really loves. And she's excited about, like, I love going out with you. When I go out with you, it makes me feel so special and taken care of. So, compare that with, you never take me out. We never go out, and I don't know why, but it never works, and none of this, and then, and she expects to get a result, that he'll take her out. Like, when you say, you never take me out, never does, it's like you feel like, God help me. And he's like, go away, no. As opposed to when you say how beautiful it is when we go out, he listens to that, and he's like, whoa, that was great. I want that feeling. With a wife, Hashem is the husband. Hashem says, I'll give you everything, but you got to go first. You got to talk to me in excitement and love. Stop crying to me and telling me all the problems that you have. Get excited over me. So there's a mizbeach hachitza, there's the external mizbeach. What is that? The place where you offer all your animals. What's the animal? All those things are going, and they're going crazy. That's the animal. And they're going sugar all over. Bring it over to Hashem and connect to Hashem. Find God in that space. That's how you discover Hashem. That's the external part. So now you're going to start with that. That's what davening is in general. Once we have that, let's take that and extrapolate from that what we can do with the Yomim Neroim and the Yomim Tovim of Tishrei. Because the Pasuk says, well, we say in davening, Zoyrei tzedakos matzmiach yeshuos. Every Jew is planted in the ground. Every Jew has incredible powers, like mounds of energy and fountains of good, incredible, powerful love and feelings and good things. And your work is to bring that out of yourself and others. If you train a Jew correctly, say you educate a Jew, what's going to happen? You're going to get good things out of him. If you don't, you won't. They'll all be there, but they'll be dormant. It'll be very hard to get them out. So we want to change our thinking so that we can zoreat tzedakos, embed the tzedakah and matzmiach Yeshuas, and bring out, sprout forth Yeshuas, salvation. How do we do that? Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is zoreat tzedakos. We embed on the ground. The sprouting forth, matzmiach Yeshuas, that's Succos. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, we're going underground. Succos, we're going to come out of the ground. Here's how it works. Shlomo Melech says in Shir Hashirim, Smoiloi tachas leroishi v'yimini techabkeni. Hashem's left hand under my head and his right hand embraces me. In order to experience Hashem's embrace, you first have to be pushed away by the left hand. Which means you can't find the solution without a problem. The solution is a solution to a problem. Okay, what's the problem that you're solving? And then I can tell you the solution. But first tell me what the problem is. When we start the year, the first order of the day is for 10 days to turn your life upside down. That's what it is. When you plant in the ground, we're not farmers, but imagine. How do you start? You're a farmer, you have seeds, and you're ready to plant them in the ground. How do you plant them in the ground? First thing you got to do is take the ground and turn it over. And then the next year you turn it back over. You come to the ground and you say, last year was so good, I planted in this ground. Yes, this year, it's not going to work. Turn it over. When you turn it over, you soften the ground. We do it for 10 days. 10 days of teshuvah is to plow the ground. The ground is you. Plowing the ground is to look and chew over everything you're doing and to say it's not good enough. Why? Why would I say I'm not good enough? What? Wouldn't you come to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur to Hashem and say, Hashem, listen, I'm a good guy. I daven, I learn, I give tzedakah, I do chesed, all the good things I do. If you do that, you're blocking yourself from finding Hashem's energy. Because the way Hashem's energy works is by your first realizing how I need you, Hashem. My life is not good enough without you. So that I can get better. The way to do so is not, as we've spoken, by looking at the negative in your life, but rather by looking at how beautiful things are in your life. Look at Hashem and say, Hashem, you give me this, you give me that. And Hashem, you're so mighty and so powerful. It's the whole Yom Kippur, that's the work. Hashem is awesome. And Hashem loves me. And what did I do? Oi! Ochenvei. And that's Hashem, Bogadnu, Sorarnu, Tiabnu. What are you clapping on your head? Clapping on your heart to say, I'm not good enough. Because if that's what Hashem is, what am I? Again, it's not by looking down, I'm nothing. It's by looking at how awesome Hashem is, and then looking at myself in light of that and saying, Oi! Teshuvah. If you do that for 10 days, you get to Yom Kippur, there's this point in Yom Kippur whereby you just cry out, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Right? What are you mechaven? What are you concentrating on? What are you thinking about? What are you focused on in Shema Yisrael? My life is all Hashem. That's what it is. So if I did this work, right? That's, you see how it's plowing the ground and putting the seed in. Yom Kippur is putting the seed in the ground. A new way of looking at things. Hashem, I love you. You did that? Now the seed starts to grow. What does it mean to grow a seed? It means that your whole life becomes aligned with Hashem. You will start to see Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence, everywhere. Hashem always is with you. But if you don't live in that space, you're not going to see it. So how do you discover Hashem every moment of your life? Succos. What is Succos? It's this holiday. You enter into the sukkah, and everything you do becomes holy. There's no other time of year where you could do that. You want to eat, drink, you want to chat with a friend, you want to work on your computer, take a laptop, and work on it, you want to just hang out, you want to sleep, whatever you want to do, go into the sukkah, mitzvah. What does it mean, a mitzvah? I'm enveloped by Hashem's presence. Everything of my life, everything of me is godly. I'm one with Hashem. That's called creating the new you. You know, in the world, everybody gives tzedakah. No, they don't. They give charity. Charity is chesed, not tzedakah. Tzedakah is righteousness, tzedek. You know when people give tzedakah, it's amazing to see. The IRS always has issues with Jews. Because, you know, if a billionaire, he made $100 million this year. And then he gave away $1 million. $1 million to tzedakah. It's impressive, right? Okay, very nice. But, you know, it's only 1% of what you made this year. Okay, so it makes sense. Suddenly the IRS will see that there's a guy who gave $1 million to tzedakah. How much did he make? 1.5. You made $1.5 million and you gave 1 million of that to tzedakah. That means you gave 2/3 of your salary to tzedakah. That doesn't sound right. But Jews do that. Literally. They give much more. The guy takes 80%, 90% to tzedakah and keeps a little bit for himself just to live. I love giving tzedakah. Tzedakah is transformational. In order to give tzedakah, you have to have a total transformation in your heart. You have to have the Rosh Kippur Sukkos syndrome. You have to go through this process of saying, Hashem is so unlimited, and I want to get connected to Him. And then you become a different kind of a person. You look at another Jew and you say, that guy needs something. So you know my nature is to go spend the money on myself. No, I'm going to go spend it on you. You become a Jew because you're able to go all around and see Hashem in everything. And so it's exciting to give tzedakah. You actually enjoy the giving of tzedakah. That means you're seeing God in every space, opportunity, you're seeing Hashem. Jews have this power inside of us. We just got to work it. Hashem Kippur is about distancing yourself from Hashem so that you can experience a closeness. See Hashem everywhere. You want to notice Hashem in every space. Sukkos is Hashem is everywhere. Hashem Kippur is Hashem is everywhere. So what's the difference between Hashem Kippur and Sukkos? The difference is Hashem Kippur is me distancing myself from Hashem and yearning for Hashem. And Sukkos is me feeling Hashem's presence everywhere. One is called fire, the other one's called water. There are different types of love. There's a fiery love and a watery love. So first you go for this, Hashem is awesome. And then you start seeing God everywhere. That's Sukkos. And the 4 days in between is when the plant is beginning to grow. I have a very good friend. We grew up together. His name is Rabbi Michael Goldman. And he lives on Shlichus in Kauai. You know what that is? It's in Hawaii. It's called Kauai. And it's interesting there, like there are a bunch of islands, and you can't get from one island to the other without taking a plane or whatever, going across the ocean. Even though it's Hawaii, but it's not. It's just a bunch of islands. And so I called him up. I said, tell me some good stories. Tell me something that happened. I want to hear something good. Last week. So he tells me, he says, nah, nothing happens here. It's like, so whatever. I'm like, come on. In Brooklyn, nothing happens. But by you, of course things happen. Come on. So he says, okay, I'll tell you one. So he sent me, I said, give me a voice note so I have it recorded. So he sent me a voice note. He told me a story. The story was like this. He lives in the island, Kauai, and the only Jewish cemetery in Hawaii, in all the Hawaii Islands, there's a bunch of shluchim in every place over there. The only Jewish cemetery is in Kauai. So this guy was an older guy, and he came to the last days of his life, and he entrusted a lady, a friend of his, with his estate and everything. I don't think she's Jewish, but she called up the only Jewish burial place in Kauai. So she calls up Rabbi Goldman, and she wants to know how to bury this guy. When he dies, he's still alive. And what do I do with him? So he tells her, we have a spot of it, we can bury him, it's very nice, whatever. She says, no, but he wants to be buried in Hawaii. Meaning not in Kauai, but in Hawaii. Brooklyn, New York, there's Hawaii. He wants to be buried on the main island of Hawaii because he really loves Hawaii. That's where he wants to be, which means in a not Jewish cemetery. So that's not good. But you don't, you take what you can get because it's much better than cremation. So you put him in a place where it's fine, whatever, you do a halachic thing, but you don't want to cremate the guy. So he says, fine. This guy hadn't spoken to his family, his siblings, and his couple of kids. He hadn't spoken to them in 25 years. They had a fight. They never spoke. And they lived all over in Europe and all over. Somehow, the last few weeks of his life, he made up with them. And these siblings of his, who hadn't spoken for so long, kids, came over and they made up and they became friends the last days of his life. And it was the most extraordinary thing. And then he died. So, Michal's telling me the story. He says, and I'm going to fly. So I wasn't going to fly over, but the local shliach in Hawaii Island is a brand new guy. And he just arrived, just came, and he's, he doesn't know how to do the whole funeral thing and what to do. So he asked me, listen, help, I just came in. I can't do this. Come help me. Tara, you have to be a Chaver Kaddish. There's no one else to do it. So he says, fine, I'll fly over, I'll come. Tomorrow night I'll fly over, we'll do the funeral the next day. Now, Michal runs, it's called Chayenu. You see Chayenu? Little pamphlets they put out with English for every week. Chumash, English, Chumash, and Tehillim, and Tanya, whatever, all that comes out. He started it. He's the one who created it. So he's on the board and running at the chairman. Having a meeting. And the meeting, this took place in Shvat. They're having a phone conference. Phone conferences, they want to print the writings, the teachings of Reb Levi Yitzchak, the Rebbe's father. So Rabbi Dubov, is a rabbi who gives over the teachings, and he gives it as a video to teach the Reb Levi Yitzchak's teachings. And then they take that video and they make it into a writing and they transcribe it. Then they're discussing, they're making it into a book, an English book on the teachings of Reb Levi Yitzchak. They're thinking, how do we do this? Some guy says, there's a guy, his name is Levi Yitzchak, named after the Rebbe's father, Levi Yitzchak. And this guy, I haven't seen him in years, but I heard that he's a modern Orthodox guy. And he has a very close connection because he's named after him. And if we can get to him, he'll do it. So Michal listens and he says, I learned with that guy in Yeshiva. He was with me back in the day in Yeshiva, but that was 30 years ago. So how do we track him? I haven't seen him in decades. So what do we do? So he's thinking, okay, whatever, Hashem will help, we'll find a way. But he's living in Hawaii. What are the chances of finding him? No, I don't know how to find him. Anyway, goes over. That was the meeting. He says, I fly over. I go to the funeral. And by the funeral, by the night before, I'm meeting the siblings who just made up with him and this woman. Sitting and meeting, and we met at a Hilton hotel on the beach. We come into the hotel, but there's a band playing. It was way too noisy, so we couldn't talk. So instead, we walked over onto the beach, right next door. We went to the beach, it's 9 p.m. Night before the funeral. We come onto the beach, and we're sitting on the chairs over there, and I'm telling them what a Jewish funeral is. We need a minyan. What's a minyan? They never heard of a minyan before. And he says, and then I tell them when you say Kaddish, what's Kaddish? And I'm like, did my research. These guys are Jewish, 100% Jewish. Don't know what a minyan is, don't know what Kaddish is. They don't know nothing. Like zero, Sheba zero, nothing. He's I'm talking to them and I'm getting excited over, wow, I'm doing my work of reaching out to a Jew. And I'm telling them we need a minyan. So there's me, there's a local shliach, a local rabbi, you two, and fine. We can get to 9 Jews. He says what's critical is we need to find another Jew on this island. For tomorrow minyans, the Levaya, we need to have a Jew, a 10th man must be there on the island. I don't know how we're going to find him, but we're going to find him. I said, good luck, Rabbi, whatever you want to do, fine. And he says, I have no idea how. As he's talking to them, he says, I look on the other end, and I see, it's a vacation spot. I see a guy on the beach playing, the paddleball, whatever. And he's on the beach with his kids, and he's wearing a yarmulke. I'm like, hey, a yarmulke. So he says, I walk over to this guy, and I look at him randomly, like, hey, what's going on, Rabbi? He says, hi, whatever, yeah. I says, listen, I'm whatever. This is the story, there's a guy, we need a minion for tomorrow. Need a minion? And what for? For a thing. He says, sure, I'll help you with a minion. Need a minion for a funeral? He says, before I go over, I tell these guys, I said, watch, that guy there, I'm going to go over to him, I'm going to ask him to be the 10th man. They said, he's not going to agree. Why would he come? He doesn't know you. He says, you're going to see now. So he said it was so interesting, because like these guys don't know what Jewish people are. He says, no, you're going to see. I'm telling you, the guy's going to agree to come. So he asked the guy, they watched that like open mouth. The guy says, sure, I'll come. He said, what time's the funeral? 10 a.m. He says, oh man, I would have loved to come. I really would have wanted to come. But my flight's at 9. Sorry. They're like, okay, whatever, we'll find someone else. I don't know, yes. We'll look around Fort Center, somewhere else. He said, wait. You guys don't need a minion on the 10th man on this island and whatever. He says, give me a few minutes. Guy goes over, finds his wife, goes to the kids, up and down, comes back 20 minutes later. He says, okay, we're going to change the flight. We're going to go later on. I'm staying for this flight. What am I going to miss the funeral when I'm the 10th man? Crazy. This is the craziest thing ever. Of course I'm going to be there. What are the chances we'll come here? He said, I'm going to be there. 10th man, we're good. Good. The next day, he comes to the funeral. They got 10 people at the funeral. So Michal asked him, so what were you doing there? He says, we had an Airbnb with my kids. We came here because I wanted to get a vacation. Midwinter vacation. And I came here, and my kids, we were staying together in this Airbnb, and there's cockroaches, big cockroaches in the Airbnb. And so we couldn't take it. So my kids started jumping and freaking out. And I was like, I can't end this vacation. I'm like, I paid so much money for this. I should end the vacation on a negative. So I decided, you know what? Let's get out of here. Where are we going to go to? A nice hotel, Hilton. We decided to go to the Hilton Hotel. We came to the Hilton, we got our room, we got inside. Then I figured, but I got to have my kids feel, they were so stressed out from these cockroaches. I said, let's go to the beach. So we went to the beach. We never go to the beach at 9 p.m. with the kids, but we decided to go, and we went to the beach. And there we were, at the beach. He says, Rabbi, what? You said your name was Goldman? He says, you look very familiar. Put 2 and 2 together. What's your name? I know you. Lady Yitzchak. He did the funeral. And he sponsored the Sefer. So I told him to, Michal told me the story. So he said to me, my kids call it the cockroach miracle. and he says, I don't know, take what you want, do what you want with the story, but it's a good story. I thought about the story, and I thought, you know what it tells you, the story? It tells you that Hashem is everywhere. Everywhere. In every little detail. Sometimes you get to see it more, and sometimes you don't. But Hashem is everywhere. If you want to know how to go Tishrei, the way you do a Tishrei is you start off maybe sometimes feeling a little bit abandoned, no light. You want to end off Tishrei and feel Hashem's presence, embrace, warming you up. How do you get there? By being in the sukkah. Everything you do in the sukkah is Hashem. How many walls does the sukkah have? Priya Chaim says, minimum 1, 2, and a third tefach. Why? So the Priya Chaim, the Arizal, the Chaim Vital says, because your arm has one wall, 2 walls, and a third one. And so it's an embrace. Hashem's embracing you. When you hug someone, you hug them and you say, I'm with you forever. It's a sense of oneness between us. We're here forever together. That's the oneness of a sukkah. You'll never feel the oneness of a sukkah unless you feel separation. What's separation? Hashem, I'm distant from you. What does it mean I'm distant from you? I thought it was close to you. Until I realized that you make crazy miracles. Like, what are the chances of that happening? If I realize what Hashem is and what I am, and then I yearn for Hashem, chalishing for a relationship with Hashem. That's Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. The work is to yearn for Hashem. That's the fire on the external Mizbeach. And then you get into the internal Mizbeach. And we do a Succos work, which is on the external one, pouring the water. The fiery love is, I'm excited over Hashem. The watery love is, I'm with Hashem everywhere. We do it every day in davening. Sukkah the Zimmer is getting excited, noticing Hashem is everywhere, but it's fire. Shemona Esrei is, I feel mellow, I feel calm with Hashem. You got that work done? What's the clincher? Shmini Atzeres. Shmini Atzeres, we dance like crazy. We say, Hashem, this feeling, I want to keep it. When a person finishes davening every day, davening is a miniature Tishrei. A little bit. Feel Hashem's presence, okay, got it. It's critical, after you finish it, to go learn some Torah. Because what does Torah do? Torah is talking about the physical world from a spiritual vantage point. We Jews are godly people in a physical world. Our goal is to live in the physical world and notice Hashem everywhere and truly feel it. Light the fire in your life and Hashem lights it. You go Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, distance from Hashem. Allow Hashem into your life as you sprout forth new realities on Succos, feeling how Hashem is all the time with you. Every feeling of yours is godly and divine. That's, by the way, the Ushpizin, 7 feelings in your life. Feeling Hashem's presence all the time. Feeling enveloped, you feel cozy. Don't step out. One more thing. Go dance with the Torah like crazy. Finish davening, you go learn some Torah. You bridge the gap. You walk out into the world. You don't see a world. You don't see nations. You don't see worries. You don't see problems. What do you see? Opportunities for discovering Hashem. And when you do, your life is a whole different world. So we have to work Tishrei to make it work for us.